So I'm going to show you how you're going to be able to create a line graph um, with properly formatted Excel data. So that would be including having a labeled X and Y axis, proper X and Y units, a labeled key legend, and at least 10 data points are shown. This is specifically for lab 2050. However, if you are just watching this generic, just off of YouTube, or you're also taking 2050, this is specifically for this use case. However, you can use this for any other possible use cases. But first things first, you want to make sure that you do have your Excel data formatted correctly. So I've actually already made my chart here. And if I go ahead and click on my chart, we can see that Excel is going to highlight exactly where it's pulling said data. So as you can see, it's pulling it from my tables, table 1, 2, 3, and 4, as well as labeling or taking the time in the A column and making that my X axis. So I'm going to show you basically how to create a said graph like this. But first things first, you need to take your data, whether that be from your lab manual or wherever your data is coming from, and you need to put it into this Excel format just like this. So I'm actually just going to do this on a new table to show you guys what I'm doing. So once you have your data formatted like this, pretty simple from here. So you want to go ahead and starting from table 1, select all your data. You do not have to include the total here like I did. Just make sure you have your general raw data. And then for me, I like to hold control, or if you're on a Mac, that'd be command. So highlighting all this, and then control or command, holding that and selecting my time. Once I have all my data selected accordingly, I'm going to go to the Insert tab in Excel. Make sure you are on the desktop version because it will look a little bit different if you're, say, on the online version, which doesn't have the full capabilities of everything the desktop version of Excel has. And then you want to go to Charts, where it says Scatter Charts right here. And then you want to select the option that has scattered with straight lines and markers. Now, sometimes Excel will do this where it pulls the data inaccurately, mixes the X and Y axis. So sometimes you have to select it a certain way to get Excel to format it basically correctly. Might take a few tries before you actually get your chart like this. So usually selecting it from the A column and just dragging it over will give you the same chart. And if we look at my chart, basically we are getting the same chart look like. All right, now that we have our accurate chart and we have selected our correct data points, what we are going to do is we are going to format this. Specifically, this is again for 2050. However, if you just needed how to insert a line or, a line graph, you have done it. You have done it here. Or if you're specifically for 2050 or just want to clean up your charts a little bit more, what I do is first I delete these little like lines here. We really don't need them. You can do that just by selecting them and pressing the delete key on your keyboard, or if you're on Mac, selecting it and then clicking the backspace. And then once that's done, I do like to go to the chart elements right here, and we are going to add access titles. And in here is where we can add our X and Y labels as needed for this example, which I am just going to cheat a little bit and copy from my chart that I've already done, just for this demonstration, as well as copies the chart title. Now for me, I'm including the chart title. You don't have to if you're doing like a figure and putting it in like a Word document. Usually you don't have to put this, but for this example, I will. So once we do have that, what I like doing to make sure that it's cleaned up a little bit, and sometimes the specific like requirements of your chart, is to just make sure that they're all the same fonts and all the same consistency among the graph. And how we can do that is by selecting either the X or Y axis, going to where it says Format Accesses, and then clicking here. And then I make sure there is cross tick marks like that for both the X and Y axis. Like a major type and cross to get those tick marks. And then usually I like going to the paint bucket and going into line and making this all black, just to make sure it looks consistent among your whole chart. You can also change the fonts to black as well by right-clicking either your X or Y axis and going to font. And then where it says font color, you can go ahead and just black. That way it's just bold, and also it's easier to read sometimes if you're on like a smaller display. That's also like really neat to just have that consistency among your chart like this. And just like that, that's pretty much it. Like if I go back to my chart I created, they compare it to the one we just did, pretty consistent. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to next show you how to insert it into Word document. So you need it like this, or you need to take your Excel chart and put it into a Word document. Usually for that, if you do need to include like a figure, which is a lot of times needed, I like to first open a Word document and go to Insert. And then I go Table, and I insert a 1x2 table, just like this. And once that's done, I go back to my Excel chart. I'm going to just click in the blank space right here on my chart, Control C to copy it, or Command C if you're on a Mac. Go back to my Word document, Control V or Command V, and paste it. All right. And just like that, we do have our chart. And then making sure it's bold, typing figure 1, and then summary of your chart, making sure you're including that as well. And just like that, you really have your proper labeled X and Y axis, proper units, your labeled legend, and your data points all included here. So that is how you create a line graph, and also for this specific 2050 lab report, putting it into not only Excel, but also Word as well, and properly formatting it.